Hi folks, so it's my turn to make a video. There's two or three things that I want to talk about. I get phone calls every once in a while from people that have problems with the template guides when they're cutting patterns. Now we make these patterns, as you guys know, for all the, a lot of different shapes of the signs that we make. We make and sell these patterns out of MDF. Our patterns are actually out of HDPE, which is high density polyethylene. And I highly recommend that when you get a pattern, one of the patterns that we have on a website, when you get one, once you learn how to use it, one of the very first things you should do, get yourself some HDPE. Now we don't sell them out of HDPE, we only sell them out of MDF. But once you get the MDF pattern, if you're careful, once you learn how to use it, you can make a pattern out of HDPE. The MDF pattern, you can probably make 100 pieces off of it without any problem at all. If you make it out of HDPE or acrylic, but I prefer HDPE, you could probably make 10,000 pieces off of this and you'd never notice any wear on it. As long as you don't gouge it with your router bit, as long as you don't let the router bit come up over the top of it. So I highly recommend that once you get your pattern, regardless of what it's for, make yourself a spare first. And then when you get good, get yourself some HDPE and make a pattern. I don't know why I'm all choked up, but anyway. Now that was just one thing that I wanted to tell you about the patterns. Now I've had a couple of calls lately from people who weren't quite sure how to use these template guides. This is a guide that once it's in your router, it follows around the outside of the template in order to cut your pattern. And you'll have a router bit that comes from your router down through this. And you'll see that it's adjustable. And you can see that when your template guide follows your pattern, then it will duplicate whatever is underneath here. It will duplicate that. So I've had a couple of people say that number one, they buy a router and then they can't get a template guide to fit the router. And this is the way the template guide fits. This is a Porter cable base. This is a base off a Porter cable router. It has a little shoulder in here. This template guide drops right into that hole, and then this goes on the back. You could do this with the base off, but you can do it with the base on your router. You just have to reach in. I made a video on how to do this. But the main thing that you need to do is once you get this together, make sure you got the right size for the router bit that you're going to use. And make sure this is tight. Get a pair of channel locks, a pair of pliers of some kind, and snug that up. It doesn't have to be super tight, but it does have to be snugged up. And then, of course, once you get the router on there, then with the router, you'll just follow right around that pattern and cut any shape that you want to cut. Doesn't matter what it is, a star or a circle, any one of our sign shapes. Now these router bits that we recommend, and the reason we recommend them, is because they're a spiral bit. That means the cutter is actually in the form of a spiral. It comes up around that bit and it's in a spiral. Now if you try cutting this with a straight bit, and a lot of people have, probability is as soon as you start pushing real heavy and making a heavy cut, and you lose just a little bit of pressure on it, it'll snap. The cutter will snap off, especially if you're using carbide. If you're using high-speed steel, it doesn't break quite that easy. But we recommend a spiral carbide bit. There are several on the market that'll do the job just fine. The one that we like is made by Whiteside. And it doesn't have quite the high spiral that the other one has, but it's really a nice bit. Does a nice job. And if you had one of these bits and you're cutting patterns, cutting off of our patterns, and you're careful, you should probably cut 100, maybe 200 signs before this router bit has to be reground. And they can be resharpened, but not by us. Because they're on a spiral, they have to be sharpened by machine. Everything that we sharpen by hand. But they can be sharpened. So you should get at least 100 signs. Once you learn how to do what you need to do, you should get at least 100 signs out of a router bit. So it's fairly inexpensive. Now you can buy these pattern followers, these pattern guides. You can buy them individually. You can find places that sell them individually. I think Rockler online. Or you can buy the whole kit. This is a Porter cable kit. And they'll fit any Porter cable router. They'll fit any DeWalt router. They'll fit any Black & Decker router. The router they won't fit is Craftsman. Craftsman routers have a bigger hole in them, and they're just not made for these template guides. Maybe on purpose, I don't know. Maybe Craftsman does that so you have to buy a template guide from Craftsman. I apologize for my scratchy throat. I don't have any idea what's wrong, but...
You didn't start scratching until you started talking on camera.
Yeah, as soon as I started talking on camera, I get all choked up, I guess.
Just don't start crying, Dad. Come on. Hold back the tears.
Yeah, right. I'll hold back the tears. I won't start crying. So anyway, that was the main thing that I wanted to point out, is you can get these patterns and use this procedure in your router so that you can cut these sign shapes that we make. You can cut all of these shapes with no problems at all. We're here to help. You can get us on the phone, get me on the phone, or get Eric on the phone, and we'll answer your questions. But if you follow the directions that we give you on these videos, you shouldn't need to call us at all. If you do, just send us an email, and we'll answer your emails, or we'll answer your phone calls.
Now, what about, Dad, what about either hard material, like if they're cutting alder or oak, or if they're cutting thicker material?
Okay, on your router, when you're cutting thicker material or tougher material, you've got your router set so that your cutter goes all the way through the material. Well, you don't have to go all the way through the material. You can do it fine on cedar, on redwood, on softwood. But if you get into real hardwood or real thick wood, hardwood, you should probably take, on 3/4 inch hardwood, take it in 2 cuts at least. Go halfway through, set your router so you're halfway through, come in, make your cut all the way around, take your router out, set it back down where it goes all the way through, come back in on your on your template, and then follow it again with your cutter going all the way through. On your real thick stuff, you may need to take it in 3 passes. If you got 1.5 inch material, you may need to take it in 3 passes. The main thing that you have to do is always keep your router, once you have your template guide against its pattern, make sure that it stays tight and just take it easy. You don't need to be in a hurry. Make sure that your that your material is not moving. Make sure that your template is securely fastened to the material, and then you can take it 1, 2, 3 cuts, whatever you need. But on hard material or thick material, we recommend you take it in 2 or 3 passes. And other than that, that's about all I've got to say on this one. I'm going to go gargle something to see if I can't get this frog out of my throat. and if I don't like the way this video is, then you won't even see it. So that's all we're doing for now. Shut her down, son.
Okay.